The basic rule for whether to use was or were able to or could to refer to ability in the past is very simple. According to the grammar books, if it's general ability, we use could, and if it's one-off ability, that is, ability on one specific occasion, we use was or were able to. Simple. But very few of the rules of English are that simple in practice. In order for a rule like this to reflect accurately the way that native speakers actually speak, we need to modify it in various ways. The first modification is that it's okay to use was or were able to express general ability in the past. And we can say something like, when I was a boy, I was able to run for miles. Could is more usual here, but it's not actually wrong to use was or were able to. That's a fairly simple modification to the rule, but it's surprising how many grammar books don't mention it. And there's a slight difference in meaning too. If we say we could do something, it doesn't imply any particular difficulty in doing it. But if we say we were able to do it, there's a suggestion that it perhaps wasn't so easy. So, are there situations when we can use could to talk about ability on a specific occasion? Well, this is something most grammar books do talk about. They'll generally point out that verbs of sensory or mental perception can be used with could when we're talking about a one-off situation in the past. For example, we can say, I could smell freshly made coffee when I woke up this morning. Or, he spoke with a strong accent, but I could understand most of what he said. The other exception to the rule that we commonly find in grammar books is that it doesn't apply to negative expressions. The rule is that we should say, for example, I was able to sleep well last night when making a statement, and were you able to sleep well last night when asking a question, but it's okay to say, I couldn't sleep well last night in the negative form. What the grammar books don't tell us, though, usually don't tell us, is that many native speakers don't really follow these rules, or not very closely. In fact, most native speakers have no idea that such rules exist. And we've ended up with the situation where all around the world, learners of English are expected to learn rules about could and was or were able to that a lot of native speakers don't know about and don't use. Is that really fair? It isn't fair, is it? But there's worse to come. Take a look at the following situation. Jamir has invited Joe to his party, and when Joe gets there, Jamir says, I'm glad you could come. This is a positive expression of past ability on one specific occasion with a verb that's not connected with sensory or mental perception. According to the grammar books, it should be, I'm so glad you were able to come. But most native speakers would use could here. What's the explanation for that? As far as I know, there isn't one. Although it is true that I'm glad you were able to come implies that there was some kind of difficulty that needed to be overcome, while could doesn't suggest that in the same way. But that isn't a full explanation of why we can use it in this particular context. Maybe we're using it because it sounds more polite. Could and would are often used to soften the sense. Could you help me, for example? Or I wonder if you could explain that. But those are referring forwards in time to something that might happen in the future. And what we're interested in here is the use of could to talk about ability in the past. If you find a decent explanation of this, let me know. I'd love to hear it. Let me leave you with one final example of could used for one-off ability in the past. How could you do such a thing? Asking someone how they could do something in that kind of context is a clear criticism of their behaviour. Asking in that way shows that we think that what they did was very bad. The meaning is completely different from asking someone how they were able to do something, which simply means that what they did was difficult and we'd like to know how they did it. Again, this kind of usage is not usually explained in the grammar books, but it's still a part of the language as it's used by native speakers. I'll be making more videos talking about difficult and confusing areas of English usage, so stay tuned to find out more. And don't hesitate to ask me if there's a language point like this that you'd like me to try and explain.